Om Namah Shiva. Om Namah Shiva. This is Thunder, the Desert Shaman. Just thought I'd start this video off with a little bit of a mantra there to kind of balance the energy out. Om Namah Shiva. Yeah, that's a good one, amongst many others. I think I want to talk about trying to attain free spirit status or being a free spirit. A lot of people say they're a free spirit, but they're not really. And so I can also say that I'm a free spirit, but I'm not really, because I find myself, being a free spirit, you can have a free spirit, you can say you're a free spirit, which is a good thing, which means you feel free of any kind of influence or fear, paranoia, that type of thing. But getting to that point where you're actually practicing that, or where it's an actuality in your life, is a whole nother story. It's a continual process. Because being a free spirit means you're free. And that means free from everything, free from influence of relationships, mates, the government, family members, churches, social organizations, the government. Did I say the government? If I did, well, I'm trying to put emphasis on that particular fact, because it is usually the government. It's society in general, which includes the government, religion, all that stuff. So we're constantly trying to get to this point of free spirit status. And we have to be real conscientious about it, because it's real easy to get sucked back down into the mire. It's real easy to get fucked up along the way. And it usually comes from the people closest to us, the ones that can really pull on our emotions, okay? Or the ones that maybe you're trying to achieve some kind of free spirit status and your mate isn't, or your brother or sister doesn't have a clue, or your mother and father or whatever doesn't have a clue as to even what that means. And what that means is you have to have a lot of internal strength. You have to internally be real strong. You have to be a warrior. To be a free spirit, you have to be a spiritual warrior. You have to be a Taoist warrior, because it involves not being attached to the matrix, to the web of life, to energy that is continually permeating our existence. It's freeing yourself from all forms of control. When you say you're free, that means you're free to move, free to do what you want, free to live your life in peace and harmony and joy, free to think the way that you feel is best for you, free to move about. That's a big one, move about. Move about in all areas of life, physically, mentally, and spiritually, moving about without being encumbered in any way, shape, or form. That's a big one. It's trying to get to that place that most of us have been working on all our lives. Because really, isn't that what enlightenment's all about? Finally realizing that you're not who you really think you are, or what other people have indoctrinated you to be. You're not really a person that you want to be sometimes when you get yourself into certain circumstances that keep us encumbered or hung up in this web, okay, of people around us or people that don't understand how we are, okay, as people. I noticed this, this thing is, politics is a good example of people being prisoners to certain belief systems. Religion's a good example of people being prisoners to certain belief systems. Marriage is a good example of people being prisoners to certain belief systems. Relationships. I could go on and on and on. It's all over the fucking place. These traps, these minefields that we get ourselves into. And how do you get out of them once you get into them? How do you get out of a minefield? If you were out in the battlefield and you were trying to get to you knew that landmines were all over the place and you got yourself caught in the middle of them, how would you get to that safe ground? How would you get over there? Well, there's two ways to do it. One way would be to meticulously pick your way through the battlefield and look for little triggers that are sticking up out of the mud that might be a landmine, and make your way around that. Then you get to the next one, and it's just on and on and on. Or you could fucking sprout wings and fly. I prefer the latter. And the way that you do that is every time you get yourself into a situation, you rise above it. Okay, you have to rise above it. It's like a helicopter came down and dropped you a fucking skyhook, okay? And this helicopter is basically our higher consciousness. It's about seeing the big picture, okay, from like a hawk's eye view, looking down on it all and going, okay, there I am down there in the middle of that minefield. What am I going to do, okay? What am I going to do? Well, you're going to rise up there. Your spirit's going to rise up with the hawk. You're going to fly like the hawk. You're going to see everything for what the fuck it is. And you have to step outside of yourself to do this. Sometimes you have to really pull yourself up by your bootstraps and rise above yourself, rise above the situation, to see what it is. Because when we're in a situation, it seems hopeless. It seems like, oh man, there's no way out of this. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this one. Or will this shit ever end? Or thoughts of that nature. Well, that's when you use your meditation techniques and your kundalini and your mantras and your spiritual quote-unquote practices that are beneficial to you. Now, there's two kinds of spiritual practices. There's just ritual, okay, which is a rote memorization of doing the same thing over and over and over again. Is that bad? No, that's not bad. Some people smoke the pipe every day, the Chinoopa, and they offer prayers and they burn sage and they do stuff like this. Is that bad? No, that's real good, but it's different than doing a ritual, okay, that is actually, let's say, activating a life force or an energy force or a evolutionary force within yourself on major levels. And so in order to do that, you have to do spiritual practices that are ancient old things, okay? Yogic stuff, breathing, moving the energy, using the kundalini, using the energy within yourself to burn out that karma in your spine, open your third eye, okay, and the pineal gland, and see things from what I'm talking about, from that higher concept, or hawk's eye view, Hawkeye, seeing it from that. And the only way you can see it is to open that third eye, the pineal gland, and to rise above what we see from that third eye, the big picture. Everything is energy, everything is chaotic energy, everything is chaos, okay? And so we get caught up in these little rivulets, streams, waterways of life. Rapids, maybe, would be a better term to use. Turbulence might be another term. And we don't know how to get out of it. All we do is sit there and fight it. We don't really know how to get out of it. We don't know that sometimes just letting go of the whole fucking situation is the best way out of it. Because when you try to fight something, you're creating an enemy. And when you create an enemy, you have a war. And when you have a war, you're in a situation where sometimes you get anxious because you're battling. It's better to do battle with the sword of no sword. It's better to rise above it. It's better to just back off and see the big picture. Now, is this stuff easy to do that I'm talking about? Is it something that's like, yeah, man, that's a piece of cake, I can do that? No, it's not. It's not an easy thing to do. You have to be very disciplined in a way. But having said that, discipline is a form of slavery too. So you always want to be looking at everything. I mean, you can be disciplined and not be a free spirit if you're over disciplining yourself. So discipline should be something that becomes a part of your everyday life, a natural thing, to where it's like you're not forcing yourself to do it. It just feels good. It feels as good as breathing, which is probably one of the best ways to gain enlightenment that there is. And there's other ways too, with sounds, music. There's a myriad of ways. Mantras, meditation, movement of energy, the whole thing. So when you get into these situations where like somebody else is trying to control you through words that they might say, like maybe the words are hurting you, okay? Maybe they have a hurtful effect on you. And maybe you don't even realize that some of these words are hurting you. So you have to be conscientious at all times. You have to have clarity. You have to try to be balanced. Because if you don't have this clarity and you don't have this balance and you're not seeing, you're not a seer, okay, which is a sage or an enlightened one, it's going to be real hard for you because you're going to get pulled right down into the muck, okay? And once you get pulled down into the muck, and by muck I mean things like routines, hurrying and scurrying about here to there, going through a routine every day of your life, same thing over and over again. Going to the store, coming back, going here, going there, running around like a chicken with your head cut off, is not going to be conducive to you being a free spirit. Routine is a killer. It's a rut. And a rut, as my father told me, is a grave with both ends knocked out. You're dead and you're not going any fucking where. So you always want to be that wanderer, that free spirit. Wanderer is another good term. Wanderlust, okay, lust for life, wandering around, okay, because when you're wandering around, okay, not running around, hither, to and fro, in a fast way, in a robotic way. That's a routine. But when you wander, okay, when you're a spiritual wanderer, you're a wanderer too. You wonder about things. You see things different. You look for adventure. That's another thing that a free spirit does, is look for adventure. Wanting to be adventurous, wanting to venture out into new and unexplored realms, or maybe even dangerous realms. To most people, it might not be dangerous at all if you're a true free spirit, a true spiritual tracker. So you wander off into unknown and new areas, okay, or you venture to where most people are telling you shouldn't go. That's the way a free spirit thinks. That's the way that you have to think. You have to experience the flow, okay, of life. Now, as I was saying before, when you get, as you get caught down in this muck, you're fucked, because you're so locked in, okay, to everything that you're doing every day. And it could have to do with family, it could have to do with friends, it could have to do with your spouse, it could have to do with responsibilities, it could have to do with your job. It has to do with everything that you fucking do in life. We get caught up into this routine and we don't alter it. We don't alter the routine. That's the killer, is when you don't alter the routine. You have to alter the routine. Otherwise, you're not a free spirit. You have to push the envelope. You have to go outside the bounds of the routine. You have to be as a pilot breaking the sound barrier, pushing that envelope. And you sometimes find yourself getting caught up. Sometimes you'll find yourself getting depressed. Sometimes you'll find yourself getting angry. Sometimes you'll find yourself getting frustrated. Why? Because you're in this routine, okay? A little dry in the desert today. You're in this routine that keeps you locked into this prisoner type mentality. And you do get angry, and you do get frustrated, and you do. And if somebody, if you don't break out of it yourself, nobody's going to break out of it for you. People can give you counsel. People can tell you, hey, it feels really good if you don't get locked into a certain routine, and you allow yourself freedom, and you allow yourself different experiences every day. Even if you're in an isolated place, like right now, I'm in a pretty isolated place. I'm in the middle of the desert. I don't have traffic around me. I don't have a lot of routine. My routine is when I get up in the morning and I do certain things, like, let's say people get up in the morning and they take a shower, and then they go brush their teeth, or then they go have breakfast, or then they follow it up with a walk, or then they do this and they do that. Well, yeah, it's okay to do all those things, and we got to do them. But how about shuffling it up a little on the routine thing. Hell, you don't have to go brush your teeth first off. You could go out and take a walk, or you could go take a shower, or you could go eat first, then brush your teeth, or whatever. That's what I'm saying about you can't get locked into a routine, because once you get locked into that routine, you just become robotic. Okay, you become robotic. You become a robot. You're not thinking for yourself. You're not doing a little change up now and then, You got to have these little change ups in life, baby. So, if there's anything in your life that is preventing you from doing these change ups, or venturing off down this road or venturing off down that road, you have to look at it as like an obstacle, like the minefield. You have to rise yourself up, grab that sky hook of higher consciousness, and pull yourself out of the fucking muckin', the fucking muck. Because it's like quicksand. It's like quicksand. It'll suck you right down, and once you get that gravitational, that sucking down going into that muck, it's hard to get out. It's hard to get out unless you get some help with it. That's what I do in my counseling a lot of times, is I talk to people about this very same thing. I'll see incidents in their lives that's holding them down, holding them back. I'll see a web maybe that they're caught up in. I can talk to people and find out in a matter of a week, or maybe even shorter, just by the way they maybe complain or talk about this or talk about that. Talk about the things in their lives, or talk about the things they quote unquote gotta do. Oh, I gotta go do this now. Or so-and-so's coming over and I gotta be available for so-and-so. Or I gotta do this, or I gotta do that. Or, oh, I got a call, I gotta go. See, these are the kind of things that entrap us. Oh, I gotta go to the store, you don't have to fucking do anything. Not really. And if you do, if you're in that much of a routine, I know you got to take care of business. But do it in a fashion where it's you're controlling it, it's not controlling you. Okay? You're controlling it, it's not controlling you. It doesn't become a matter of rote, robotic movement, to where everything else has to be consigned to the back seat of life, maybe things that are really important. Sometimes we just shuffle them back, say, that's not important. Things that are spiritual, or people in your life that are really meaningful. People in your life that you might have a connection with that are trying to get through to you. And you keep repeating the same things over and over, or you have the same mistrust, or you have the same fears. Even though you know better, even though you know that when you get outside those fears, when you get outside that routine, when you get outside the matrix of life, it feels fucking good. That's what feels good. That's what we're on the earth here for. That's the supreme enjoyment of life, is this free spirit status, this internal strength, this balance. And even when people go on trips, we're like, oh, I got to be moderate. I have to be moderate. Well, you have to be moderate in being moderate, too. It's like if you put too much fucking pressure on yourself with, say, a new health diet or this, or I'm going to quit this or that, and it has to be in, written in stone for you, that isn't going to fucking work, okay? It's not going to work. Because you always have to give yourself just a little bit of leeway there, because that, again, is being a fucking free spirit. Having that free movement, that leeway, that breathing room. Do you have breathing room? Can you feel like, oh yeah, I'm not really encumbered in any way. I could, geez, if I want to go here or go there, or maybe I want to go on a trip, or maybe I want to go visit a friend. Is there something that's holding you back other than yourself? If somebody else is holding you back, if somebody else is laying a guilt trip on your head, well then you're their prisoner if you're not doing what you want to do. You're a prisoner to them. And people get caught up in relationships. And that's why I just hate relationships. I hate the word relationship. I hate the word marriage. Sorry to all you people out there that are already trapped, okay, in this vortex of, prisonership, being a prisoner. No, relationships are all right, but see, when I say the word relationship, I think of more of a oneness, or more of two people that have free spirit status, okay? Now that to me is the only fucking relationship that one should have. Not any kind of codependency, okay? That's a big word, psychological word. Being dependent on the other person's approval, or being dependent on the other person's being around you, being habitually addicted to that person, you don't even know fucking why. You might have made a wrong choice a long time ago in some relationship and just stuck with it. Because, it's too hard to get out of it. It's too hard to get out of a relationship that I fucking hate. What's worse, living in that relationship? Is that harder? Or is getting out of it harder? Well, living in it's harder. Hello? That's why, I don't like the word relationship, because people become prisoners. They become locked in. They're no longer a free spirit. I don't care how much they say they are, they're not. So they're locked into this relationship, and they can't get out of it, and they can't be free to do what they want. I've been there before, before I evolved, okay? Long time ago. I would not be or have a woman in my life, a partner, a lover, that is not a free spirit. And that's, or at least trying to attain free spirit status. That's a big one. That's a big one. That's why Thunder is in this period of solitude right now and not really hooked up with anybody. Because where do you find that? Where do you find people that even come close to that? That can even think in terms of non-jealousy, not being jealous? Because that goes with being, with this free status relationship, free spirit status relationship. That's what goes with that, is there can't be any fucking jealousy at all. There can't be any mistrust, okay, of the other person. And if you're both really of free spirit status, okay, here it comes, and you end up with each other, why would you want to go with anybody else? because you would realize how really fucking hard it is to find a person that's a free spirit and doesn't tie you down or doesn't dictate to you what you have to do. Why the fuck would you want to be with anybody else once you get to that point? You'd never want to leave that person. It would be a thing like, man, I wouldn't even think, I mean, okay, so it's possible. I guess you could meet another free spirit person, but shit, then you'd all get along. I mean, I don't know. I actually do know. That's what would happen. You would all get along. There wouldn't be any jealousy. There wouldn't be any of that stuff. So that's what a real being, you know, having free spirit status encumbers or includes or is all about. Is being free, okay? Being free of the minefield, being free of all these things that want to trip us up. You trip that wire on a fucking minefield, guess what happens? You blow up, okay? You get peppered with shrapnel, okay? So, and that shrapnel is the scars that you're going to feel in life when you make the wrong step, okay? When you make that wrong step. Well, I guess that's how we learn, isn't it? But if we don't learn quick, how many pieces of shrapnel do you want to get in your hide, you know? So anyway, those are just some thoughts that were floating around in my head today, triggered by certain events in my life. Everything that I do, every video that I do is something that's triggered by an event I see or an event that happens to me or something that somebody says to me. That's how I wrote my award-winning book, Listen to the Wind Speak from the Heart, which has all this stuff in it. It has all this stuff in it. It's a great book. I have a copy right here. Actually, I was just looking through it. Listen to the Wind Speak from the Heart. Award-winning book. It's available on the show notes below if anybody wants to read it. Has all this stuff that I'm talking about. I haven't really ever got a bad critique on it yet. Most people love it. Shit, I love it. I read the thing still right now. I've read it probably 100 times, and each time I read it, I go, hey, did I write that? That's pretty fucking good. Because there's lessons in there that came to me through hard times in my life. And then it was a cathartic thing, writing out the truth of the matter. Okay, the truth of being a free spirit, the truth of being a spiritual warrior, the truth of being a Taoist warrior. So anyway, just some thoughts, mainly based on that book. So I'll leave it there today. Adios.